Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show. Great topic, great guest, awesome guest, I would say. And again, I always say this, all my guests are great, but everyone brings a different angle, it brings a different spin. And again, today we're going to talk about holistic health. And so I do have with me a holistic health coach and someone who has a great mission, and he has been working that mission, and he's been helping people. He took it his own personal, I guess, lifestyle and mission to help others, which is not everybody's doing that these days. And again, what we do here is we want that. So I am so excited to have Joel Evan with me today as our guest, and he's going to drive us into a whole new discussion about how to get healthier, live healthier. I mean, after all, right? Health is wealth. A lot of people say that. I mean, it's an expression that's very common. Joel, welcome to the show.
Let's go. What's up, Hurricane? Man, thanks for that intro, brother. I appreciate you.
No worries, man. Thank you for being with me and being on the show. And by the way, he is a podcaster, so just that's another note. So you can tell. I mean, he's got the whole movement there. He's got the mic, the set, so the voice. So it's gonna be a pretty interesting show. And I'm telling you guys, we're in for a treat. And I read his stuff. I went to his site. I enjoyed the stuff that he's doing and his story. And of course, no one can tell us the story better than Joel himself. So Joel, let's talk about you and what drove you to start into this life transforming thing.
I love it, man.
Humanity. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. I am a holistic health coach, and I focus on weight loss and metabolic health. I am the last person in the world right now that I would ever think that was what I was going to be when I was a kid. Like, oh, one day I'll be like a weight loss coach and help people in a holistic way. Like, I've never been overweight. Like, who am I to be like focusing on metabolic health and weight loss? But it's funny, and I'll get back to my story, but right now we're in a crisis, Hurricane. 6.8% right now. There's a new study that just came out. 6.8% of Americans are metabolically healthy. That's a travesty. That means like 94%, 93% of the world is metabolically unfit, and they're not healthy because of that. And we saw that with the pandemic. People that were metabolically unfit and not healthy, they had the worst, right? They had the worst outcomes. They were suffering the most. So I'm really happy with what I do, but it was never something that I dreamt that I would be here talking to you about and that I would do. But it actually goes back to probably when I was 18 years old. So when I was 18, I graduated high school, and I always tell the story that, my friends were going to Stanford, Cal, Berkeley, UC Davis, UCLA. You know where Joel was going? Absolutely nowhere. I had no idea what I wanted to do in my life. And I'm sure, like many people, I just felt lost. My parents got divorced when I was 18. And I just felt like, man, I don't know what I want to do in the world. I thought about going in the military, and I decided, I'm going to go to the JC and just buy some time. And during that time, I started lifting weights. And I'm like, I want to change my identity. I want to change who I am. And I want girls to like me, most importantly. And so I thought that'd be a good route, and started lifting weights. But what I realize now is that was such a huge impact for me, because from that moment on, I just became immersed in that lifestyle. I grew up not super healthy. I grew up, eating Twinkies, Capri Suns, and peanut butter sandwiches on white bread. That was my daily lunch since I was like a little kid in 5th grade all the way through high school, probably. I mean, it was ridiculous. And my parents didn't know any better, right? When I was 10, I had this abnormal bone growth. Like, and I'll tell you what that is. Imagine your bone. Like, here's my femur. If anybody's watching this on like Zoom or on the video, you can see like, here's my bone. There was a bone growing out the side of my groin. It was poking out the left side of my groin like a little bump. And my parents didn't know what it was. They go, oh, Joel plays baseball. He probably got a knot or something like that. Well, they went and got x-rays and the doctor said he's got a bone growing the wrong side out of his leg. Well, but no worries. We're just going to go and we'll just chisel it off and that'll be that. And that's what they did. There was no explanation, though, to my mom, like, hey, why does this happen? And, it's just one of those things. The doctors say it's normal or, don't worry, things like this happen all the time. It's like, no, I'm telling you right now, that's not normal. So I grew up. I grew up that way. And, but bodybuilding, and not that I became like huge, but I became immersed in it. I was reading Muscle and Fitness magazine, I probably had a 3-year subscription that my dad got me, and I would read everything. And I would just redo whatever they were doing. Flex Wheeler, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, all these greats, Dorian Yates, whatever workouts they were doing, I was doing it. And that taught me a lot about nutrition, how to eat, how to build muscle, and the lifestyle. And so that was really important. Fast forward, I'm like 25 years old. Still, I graduate. I ended up going to college. I graduate college. I have a degree in international relations and Italian, which doesn't do much for you in the world. But I had this goal that I wanted to work for the FBI. Hey, ciao, bella.
Ciao,
yeah,
ciao.
Parli Italiano, Hurricane.
Pochino.
Oh, okay, un po'. Vabbè. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had this idea. I was like, maybe I'll work for the FBI. And my dad was a police officer. And I said, I'll never be like my dad. My dad, he's a nice guy, but like I'm much better than my dad. We always think that, right? And so my grandfather, believe it or not, he was a San Francisco police officer. Again, never wanted to be a cop. Thought I'll never do that. I'll be an FBI agent. That's much more sophisticated. Well, lo and behold, I'm 25 years old, living at my dad's house, and I'm just sick and tired of it. And I want to get out. And he goes, buddy, I think you should apply for local law enforcement. I think you'll really like it. And I thought, you know what? The old man might be onto something. And I always wanted a job that I could use my mind and my body. And I thought police work would fit that modality because you got to be a tactician with your mind. And you got to be able to be physically able to handle yourself. And I did martial arts and bodybuilding. So I thought this actually could be a perfect job. I'll do this for 2 years and then I'll transfer to the FBI. So lo and behold, I applied to a police department. I lived in California and I applied at the time to the Oakland Police Department. Now, I didn't know much about Oakland other than the Oakland A's. Well, I got hired by the Oakland Police Department. And let me tell you, there's a lot more going on in Oakland than I realized. It is historically known as, and I haven't Googled it in a while, but if you Google it, it's probably top 5, most dangerous cities in the United States. Always up there as a murder capital, robbery, violent crime. They lead the world. So I didn't realize that, and it was a great experience for me, to be honest. And even though I'm not a police officer anymore, and I'll kind of talk about that, I still think it's one of the most noble professions you can do if you're doing it right. And Oakland, again, it's like the Harvard, I would say, of police work. And the reason I say that is because if you do 5 years in Oakland, it's like doing a 20-year career somewhere else. So it's high paced, fast action. It's an understaffed
special forces.
It's an understaffed department. So you just see so much, they say. And a matter of fact, the FBI did a study and they said 3 years in Oakland is the equivalent of 18 years like anywhere else at some regular, city. So pretty cool stuff. So I worked there for 6 years, and then I transferred over to the San Francisco Police Department, and I worked there for about 8.5 years. And again, I had what really happened though for me, and this will lead me into the health career, is it was the birth of my son. And when my son was born, I just thought, man, I want to do so much more in the world. And I felt disenfranchised with police work. Police work was great, but it was also, I felt like I was being weaponized and being used as a political pawn. And with my mother, she had breast cancer, and again, the birth of my son, I just realized there's so much more to life. And one of the things, though, with my mother getting breast cancer that just crushed me was I knew all these things about health, but I couldn't help her, and that upset me, and that made me want to go deeper and learn more. I knew all these hacks for health. I knew, if you have this, take charcoal. If you have this, take oregano oil. I knew all these I guess hacks you could call them, but I didn't know how to get people better through systems and protocols. And I wanted to get those answers. And I actually thought about becoming a doctor and chiropractic. Long story short, I didn't do that. and because I had 2 kids and it was going to be impossible to work and do all that. So instead, I decided to invest in life coaching and multiple health coaching certs. I found an amazing naturopathic doctor and I study under him and multiple other naturopaths now. And I continue to sharpen my sword. But finally, I had met people that understood how to get people better from beginning to end using protocols. And that's a huge difference. And so what happened, lo and behold, is we talk about the manifestation. We talk about, your life, like your dream life and creating that. And I feel like that's what happened to me. So last year, it was 2 years ago, October 2021, the San Francisco Police Department gave me an ultimatum, Hurricane. They said, Joel, you need to get this experimental product and you need to inject it in your body. And if you don't, you're going to be fired. And I said, well, I guess you're going to have to fire me because I'm not going to get it. And this is not to be political or anything. I don't care where anybody stands. It just wasn't the right decision for me. And that's what I chose. And lo and behold, they fired me. So, so that happened. And I honestly, I'm grateful for it. I think it was probably the best thing. We were talking offline before this. I think it was a sign from God or source or whatever you believe in. Like, Joel, stop playing 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You need to burn the bridges and go all in. And so I did. I went all in. I launched my virtual health coaching practice and doubled down on my podcast, which I had already started. It's called the Hacked Life Podcast. I interview a lot of alternative health folks out there and experts. And here I am, man. Just I'm doing that, and I've been just rocking and rolling for the last year and a half doing that. So yeah.
Woo.
Where do you want to go?
Dude, that is like cramming 20 plus years or more, actually, in a lifetime in what, 10 minutes?
Yeah, brother.
Well, you did.
I want to keep your guest. I don't want him to get turned off. Yeah.
No, I think they're excited right now. So I want to take a few minutes just to break down some of the things that you spoke about just from the beginning to now. And the reason I want to highlight that is that because I think it's always reinforcing to hear that over and over, because every story that I have, on the show from our guests is a story that probably many of us are living, or we have kids that will probably live the same. I mean, it's amazing you said about your menu when you were a kid. That menu still exists today, and my kids have the same one. So I was just saying, I'm like, oh shit. I'm thinking it's the same going on here. I mean, maybe not the Capri Suns. They grew up down, but they definitely, the peanut butter and all that stuff is still going. And you're right. When you think about it nutrition wise, there is not much in that stuff. The other thing that you talked about is a bone sticking out of your leg. I mean, that is unheard of, and there's got to be a reason why that happened. Maybe, I don't know if you did ever find out what was the reason behind it. We can talk about that, but that is something like, ooh, and again, you always have to maintain. The one other item that you stated, which was powerful, is that you said, I'm 18, I'm not sure where I'm going. And I think a lot of, folks at that age are in that limbo. You're not the only one that had that. And I think many today are probably like, not sure what we're going to do. I mean, I'm finishing high school. I might take a sabbatical. Maybe I go to Disney college program. I don't know. but yeah, a lot of people do that, right? And but then you have to find yourself. And then, first of all, in the next step, you decided to eventually go into law enforcement, and it was a decision. And I do want to actually give you, despite the outcome that happened 2 years ago, I want to just thank you for what you did, because I do believe the world needs law enforcement. Now, people have different opinions about it, and I do stand with the premise that without somebody and people risking their lives to keep the peace around, 99% of the time, it is working. It's good. I mean, there's 1% where things go crazy, but that can happen anywhere. But just think about it, folks. If there is none of that, how the world will look like. It'll be the Wild Wild West, right? It's not something that you want to live in. It's going to be crazy. And so again, I just commend everybody. It's not easy as a job, and it does come with a risk, live. And you picked the wrong place, dude. I mean, out of all the world, Oakland, is one, like you said, it's one of the worst. But again, it's like when you train in a very difficult environment, harsh environment, you're always going to be better anywhere else.
100%.
I mean, you got the best training. I mean, you can't get better than that. I mean, you are seeing more. You are seeing live action. Most people can go through the whole, service with probably no incidents.
Hurricane, I'll tell you, the FBI, there was a joint operation that we worked on at a time when I was there, and the FBI did pretty much like they sent like undercover agents to go out and buy guns, and when they debriefed us with the after action report, as they would call it, and what they discovered, they said, listen, we've been all over the United States. We've ran this same operation in Detroit, other cities that are dangerous. And they're like, we've never been to a city where it was so easy to just be able to get a gun, like that easy. So I didn't know that. I mean, I'm just a kid working. I only know what I know. And so anyways, it just kind of highlights just a little bit of the danger that was going on there at the time. Yeah.
But most people, sometimes we undermine that. We don't think that, but that's real stuff. I mean, when someone buys a gun that's off the grid, there's a good chance they're using it for bad things. I mean, you're not taking it to hunt, right?
No.
So it's the different story. And you guys put your lives out there every day. I mean, and I think, again, that's a thank you to all, law enforcement worldwide. And doesn't matter. I mean, I think we need that in our world. Yes. I mean, there are highlights of bad, elements that can happen in any law enforcement or in life, in society, right? So, but we can't judge that, and paint everybody with the same brush here. So again, thank you for that. I just had to make that statement. And again, the courage it takes for you guys to do that. So now the fun part is that after all that work and all the dedication, here comes the pandemic, and here is a trial element here that if you don't take, you would have an ultimatum to leave. I mean, you made your choice, and at the end of the day, I mean, some people can think about it. It's your body, right? And at the end of the day, we all believe in that, right? And so you made the choice that was it. But I believe everything happens for a reason. I think our audiences, that's also another big message here that we want to take. You never know what event happens in your life that's going to change your life and catapult you to the next stage, which is probably where you're going to be the best in the sweet spot. Most people sometimes don't realize, like, they're against that moment, but that's the changing moment. And every success story, every change in life has happened with an event such as yours, where you get kicked out of the job, you lose everything, something happened. And then like, you wake up. Now you start, and then the rest is history, because because we get comfortable all our lives until that big moment happens. Like, shit, I got to move. I got to do things. And then now, what am I going to do? And a lot of people did something of that post-pandemic, because I think the pandemic did create a lot of this disruption worldwide. Many people lost their jobs. Many people had to reconsider their lives once for all, and once again, because it was not worth it. How many people lost their lives during the pandemic? So you know what? So this could be me, and this could be me. So I want to do what's going to be fulfilling for my life going forward. And so a lot of people did that.
100%,
so thank you for sharing
brother.
That. I know
there's people that are living their life, and including myself, right? There's people, and I see it all the time, especially people I coach. They are living a life that is not the life they really truly align with or want to live. They're in marriages that they're not even committed to, or they're just doing it because it's convenient. They're in jobs that are convenient, easy, because maybe it's a good paying job. My job was a good paying job. It paid the bills. It did really good. It did even more than that. But you know what? It wasn't aligned with my higher self and who I said I was and what I wanted to be. And when there's that misalignment, let me tell you something. You don't vibrate. The fastest thing that vibrates is the truth. And when you align with yourself, man, now that energy is you feel it from me, I feel it from you. It's different. It's very different. So, and again, when most people, again, they're not living that life, they're going through their whole life. And then that's when you see people, they're like 40 years old and then there's like midlife crisis, because they just started to realize, oh my God, I've been living a life based on someone else's beliefs. And that caused a lot of disruption. So, yeah.
Well, Joel, that is a big point, because in fact, maybe at the time, that was the life that was meant. That's what you saw best, because we all had that. Like, there was a moment, and where you were, you thought that was the best thing that can ever happen to you. But it was not necessarily that, but you have to discover that over time. And again, sometimes you discover it early without any major events, and that are like completely changing life events. In this case, it was, and it's okay. And but to your point, if you're not happy, if you're not vibrant at the right frequency, then you got an issue, right? And so, and by the way, folks, listen, we're encouraging people, at least I always love that. If you cannot be doing what you enjoy, then you're not going to live a good, healthy life. And by the way, if you're doing what you love and enjoy, your health, everything else is going to probably be much better. Your psyche is going to be better. That means everything else is going to function better. And now we're going to get into the deep dive on the holistic piece of it, because you're talking about frequencies, talking about energy, that all comes with that, right? So now you went and really invested in yourself, Joel. I mean, you took the time to spend, and I know you spent quite a bit of moolah there to actually get those certs and get to understand the naturopath,
Hurricane, I'm gonna just in the last year and a half, I probably spent over $30,000+, and I'm not saying this to brag. I could care less, but I just want to know. I want to stress the importance of it, because I probably spent 30,000 just on learning how to build a business, learning how to scale. I didn't know how to do that. I knew how to coach, but I didn't know how to build a business. I needed help, and so I joined various masterminds, and I continue to do that. And what I see a lot, the reason I'm pointing out to this, because I see a lot of people that will not invest in themselves. They're living in lack, they're living in scarcity, they're living in fear, and the only way you're going to grow is by hiring a mentor, or going there, finding someone that could do it and get you there faster. And I think it's a crime when people don't invest in themselves. So I just highly recommend that. I'm not saying you spend 30,000, but I'm just saying, do something small. Get a book first, get a podcast, listen to this podcast, listen to something else, and then eventually, spend some money to invest in yourself. This is important.
Listen, there's no one better to invest in than you, because then you can help everybody around you. If your family is only going to benefit from you being better, right? And your surrounding, your society, whatever it is that, your entourage, right? But this is it. I mean, you are number one, right? It's always number one, right? And you got to take care of that. It's not about being selfish, but self-care and all that stuff is important, but also educating yourself to a different level, learning more tricks and whatever that you like. Invest in your health. That's the other thing. I mean, many people, investing in someone who's a coach to help you, get the guidance, because not everybody knows that. I mean, we don't all know how to do this correctly. I mean, there's the food point, piece of it. There's the natural piece of it. Do we really even know where to go and get some stuff? Nutrition, detox, exercise, all these things are there, but there's so many ways and formulas, but sometimes we don't know what to do and we need the guidance. And of course, like, when you don't know, you ask the people that know. There's always someone that knows in any industry, in any art. There's something, right? Somebody that's actually can give you the guidance, and that's important. But it is a big piece, and people need to just understand it. And you said it best. You don't have to invest thousands of dollars. And I'm sure you didn't start with the 30. It added up eventually because you were just eager more. But that's it. You start small, and again, there's a will, there's a way. You're going to find the money, and the money is going to manifest itself through other, functions, and you're going to be doing whatever it takes, and you're going to do that, and you will see that it was never a penny lost. It's all gained, and that's important. So, you wanted to say something, Joe? Go for it.
No, I'm nodding in agreement with you. Actually, I will say something. I want to just stress to your audience, the idea that you don't have enough money, it's just an idea. It's just a belief, and I'll prove it to you right now. Hurricane, if I told you you owe me 10 grand by the end of the week, you got to pay me 10 grand or I'm going to cut out your left eye. Because the government, by the way, they just created this new left eye tax, and they want 10 grand. And so if you don't give me the 10 grand, then I got to cut your left eye out by the end of the week. I guarantee you that if you were told that, your audience, everyone listening, they would figure out a way to come up with 10 grand. They would beg, they might even steal, but I don't recommend that. But they probably would. They would beg, steal, borrow, ask everybody. They'd start a bake sale. They would do anything. They would find a way to come up with that 10 grand. And so that's just my point. It's like the idea that you don't have that, it's just an idea. It's just a concept. And once you start to realize that with money, man, everything is open. We're open. Yeah.
Well, but that's a big point, because to your point, and that was an interesting example there, but you can take any example, smaller versions of that. You want something, you'll find the means to it. You might maybe not buy the things that you buy typically and save that money and put it here, allocate it differently. You move funds from one side to the other. You have some maybe college, funds you'll take some of that now because you're going to make more money eventually. You pay it off. You can sell whatever your assets, you can take for 401k if you have one of those. There's many ways. Some people get, equity from their real estate, whatever. There is many ways you can tap. If you have nothing, you said you borrow. Now, again, the last example is to steal. We don't want that. We're not encouraging that, folks. That's not good. So just to be clear on disclaimer here, but again, if there is a will, there's a way. We all know that expression, and we know we apply it in a lot of ways. And especially for our kids, if our kids want something, somehow we make it happen, right? Well,
absolutely.
If you make it for you, you're going to make more for your kids, and therefore you can afford more for them, and they'll get what they want. So it's just that. But you're right. It's all in, and we're talking money specifically. But money, knowledge, whatever it is that you invest in you is your time. That's another one that we hear about, right? Oh, I don't have
Absolutely.
time. I mean, I'm sure you hear that all the time. Like, oh, I got to find the time to do this. You know, there's 7 days a week, technically, about 24 hours. We do need to have enough sleep, but you can still do stuff. We waste a lot of time doing nothing, in typical weeks, right? So 1 hour, I don't know, a week, 2 hours, 3 hours, we can get that. You wake up a little earlier and get things done.
Yeah.
Some people's like, I can't work out. Like, why? I wake up at 9, I chill until like 12 o'clock watching movies.
Netflix and chill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So guess what? You wake up a little earlier, get an hour workout, or you know what? You finish from work, 9, want to go to the gym, do something. We can do that. You're in charge. People always have control. And I know something. I saw a T-shirt of yours that you have where the control something. Is that one of your pictures?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was cool, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Check out his site. I mean, it's a pretty impressive site. So
yeah.
But yeah. So Joe, you did all this. And then and I know you launched this before you actually quit, we'll call it just leaving the force.
By the way, they forced me out. Just to be very clear. They forced me out. But hey, okay. Listen, in David Goggins' new book, Never Finished, he has this great quote, and I think it highlights everything that I've gone through. Many people have. And that is this: destruction always breeds creation.
I love it. That's powerful. I mean,
yeah,
it's real. It is real.
Brother.
I mean, we do think there is that theory of the Big Bang. The Big Bang is like, from nothing, you have a universe. Well, guess what? From destruction, whatever it is, atoms, and we have this whole world that's alive. So, and then regardless of the religious part of it, we're talking just the science right now. And it's still at the, it probably, if you're religious, you can connect that to religion. It's all good.
Whether you believe in God or that, it's all energy. So it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Well, but the point is, it started at that level, which again, chaos creates, this whole thing. So it is nice. And then again, we say also for invention concepts, right? Necessity is modern invention. When something is nothing happening and you need to figure it out, you will be creative, and that's exactly what happens when you lose everything. You have no choice but being creative to do something because you got to survive, got to make it happen. And so you did this, you invested, you're good. And you started obviously in the world of coaching. And I know you've dabbled a lot in the years before with health, and you knew more about the nutrition, the metabolism, as you said. So how did that all fit? I mean, first question I would have literally is, how did you see yourself once you went through all these naturopaths and the holistic approach compared to where you were when you were younger and doing it the old school way? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be a big disrupt there. It's not the same theories, right? It's not the same practices.
You're always evolving, right? And I think about like every 10 years of my life, I think again, going back to beliefs, I think a lot of us have this idea, oh, I got to be in this job, whatever it is, and I'm going to be there for 25 years. And you might evolve out of it. You might evolve out of certain, relationships, what have you. And so it's like, I look back every 10 years of my own life and I'm like, you brought it up. It's like, man, I thought I knew what I knew back then made so much sense. And every time I do that, I mean, every day I'm learning something new, and health is changing, and we're learning just so much about the gut microbiome and how it connects to the brain and how it connects to just overall health. We didn't know that before. Now everyone's saying, oh my God, 80% of immunity is found in the gut. It's like, we didn't know that a while back. So yeah, I'm constantly leveling up. I mean, before it was just protein and getting all my protein in and working out. And now there's a lot more to that in terms of being healthy, right?
But that was the standard, right? I mean, you watch movies. I mean, even like Arnold back in the days, and, about Rocky Balboa action, all these movies, and you see these big guys, shaping themselves, and you look at the Muscle Magazine and all these things, and you can see Fitness Magazine, you see like all the shakes and things and the old way. And that was exactly what you said. That was the knowledge that we had, and again, I'm on my fifth, I'm my sixth decade, so I'm not aging myself here. Oops. I just realized that kind of hit me right now for a second. All right,
Hurricane, you're looking good, brother. There's no way you're on your sixth decade.
No, my fifth decade. Just close enough. I don't know. I feel good. That's all that matters.
You look good. Yeah.
But the fact is, like you said, you transit from these things and it evolved. I mean, everything around us has evolved. I mean, nothing we know today is the same that we know 10 years and 20 years and plus. But you went into a whole extreme side of it, because naturopathic, medicine and the world of holistic health is a whole different concept. By the way, it's not new. As a matter of fact, it goes back centuries. That is actually the part that is sometimes ironical, because this is where everybody lived back in the days. But with the
100%, Ayurveda is the oldest. Like,
yes.
I mean, they were doing stuff probably before that, but Ayurveda is like the oldest known medicine to man, and they were healing people back then with just herbs and the things they knew. And I mean, and they're still doing that. And in some Ayurvedic practices are like in a third world, and they're still getting people better. So, to your point, yeah, you don't even need all these things that everyone else is telling you you're going to have. It's amazing. So it's one of the most ancient medicines there is, and something that I really enjoy.
Listen, we're not knocking out, the Western medicine. It has its merits, to a degree. And again, depends on who's what. It all depends on who is behind the scene doing it, right? If you get the right doctor, they literally work with you the right way. And again, there's the pharma, there's this, that, and some of it does help. Some of it may not help. And again, we all know this. I mean, you watch any advertising on TV about any drugs, you just read the label and all the disclaimer, you would not even touch that. You know how many times I've like read, I ain't touching it. Like, there is risk of that and this and that, the other. I'm like,
of course.
Hurricane,
I'm gonna riff on you actually for a second. I'm gonna actually put you on the hot seat a little bit.
Oh boy.
So I'll just say this: the Western MD will never ever get you better from like anything that's like chronic. And that's just proven. Like, there's no debate there, actually. Like, they will just treat your symptoms like diabetes or whatever, and they'll just give you a pill, and you'll continue to just show up, and you'll just continue to do it. Now, to your point, if I ever was in a car accident or fell off my roof and broke my arm, I'm not going to go to an Ayurvedic doctor and ask him to put some cream on me. I'm going to go and I would like the Western doctor to sew me up and put me back together, please. So I know where they stand, and that is the beauty of what they do. But again, if you had something chronic or even just acute stuff, I would never go to the Western MD, because their track record is horrible. And honestly, they don't know how to get people better. I interviewed a guy on a podcast, and he made a deal, and I make the same deal with you. I will give you $100 right now if you can tell me any pharmaceutical that has ever cured anybody from a certain disease.
Oh, no, you went already.
and the answer, you can't find one, right? Because they don't exist.
Well, by the way, I'm not on the hot seat here, because I believe
you're not on the hot seat. I'm just playing. I didn't know how to phrase it. This is your show, by the way, Hurricane. I'm in the hot seat.
Dude, it's ours. But really, I love what you said, because it is a fact. It is not intended to cure. There is no money to be made in curing, right? Let's call it for what it is.
I always tell people, with my coaching program, I wish I had invented this amazing subscription model. Like, hey, here's my offer as a coach. I promise I'm not going to get you better, nor will I ever get you better. But you have to pay me for 30 years and buy these pills, and they'll help, but they're not going to get you better. I'm like, why didn't I come up with that amazing idea? And I actually get to tell you, by the way, you won't get better. And we do it all the time. We don't even realize we're actually doing this, right? And then a coach like me is like, hey, I know I'm going to get you better, but it's going to cost $1,000. And then they're like, oh, I'm not going to pay that. So, right. It's just funny. Right. And it's just, you kind of have to step out. You have to detach a little bit and start to think wow, if you don't realize, I don't want to use the word the matrix, because people use that.
Dude, I swear you took that from my mind. I was going to say blue pill, red pill.
I didn't want to say that.
I
didn't want to say that, jump out of the matrix, but really just take a step back. And a lot of us, like I said, so I started this show off talking about limiting beliefs and beliefs in general. And we are systematized at a young age. And from 0 to 7, we are very easily programmed. It's proven in neuroscience. And so it's a lot of times not our fault, but it takes some courage and some awareness to look at ourselves and go, hey, what is going on? And is this working? Is not? And just take a step back. And it's very difficult. And if people don't, then they keep repeating the same things. And we call that insanity, right? So
the true definition of insanity, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It is, listen, it's not a secret. I think there's again, I love the concept of the matrix. It is easier to accept what is than to find the real what is, right? The truth. because the truth is difficult to absorb. I mean, it's a real difficult pill to swallow, literally. I mean, no pun intended. I mean, it's a red pill versus a blue pill. But when you take that, now you're aware, and aware is not cool, right? Plus, you have all these forces that are around us. I mean, through influence, through marketing, everywhere you go, there's that. And it does, to your point, there is a level where it kind of patches things, right? You can feel good for the longest. I mean, you said it, diabetes. I mean, my mom is diabetic. I mean, she's shooting insulin for the last 20 plus years, right?
Oh man.
I mean, actually 30 years of insulin, right? But that's all she can do. I mean, ultimately she's at an older age, but she's been, I think for the most part, she's been doing good, right? But I would have loved for her not to have to do that, and just live a happier, healthier life without all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But again, so it's a patch, but is it curing the diabetes? No, it's fixing the problem instantly, day to day, right? You're just living day by day, and that's all there is. But it costs money. I mean, her vial is $300.
Woo.
I mean, literally, I mean, thank God for insurance, but I mean, I would say literally, I mean, I'm in the insurance world, and so sometimes it works. I mean, when everything works, there's one part of it that does, but really the cost of that thing, I mean, on a month is like, $1,500.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money, but there are people that actually, there have been movies and stuff to depict the idea that people cannot afford to buy insulin, and it's a big deal. And that's the basic element, right? But again, we can prevent all that. Right. I mean, the idea is and that's where you come in. I mean, you can help someone through your work to identify what they can do for their body to really maximize the potential of the body, to give it everything it needs. So you don't even need to get to that point. And there have been studies, and there have been cases of reversals, by using herbal stuff and ancient medicine and different practices, the right detox, the right, workout things. Also, so let's talk about that.
Okay, I got a funny story and then you can ask me whatever you want. I got a funny story. There's on that point. One of my latest clients, he actually worked for the health system. He worked at UCSF. So he actually worked within UCSF. And guess what? He was one of their health coaches. He was hired on, and he's supposed to help people and help them and check in with them, and and specifically for diabetes. Well, guess what? He was on high blood pressure medication. He was on cholesterol meds himself, and he had pre-diabetes. So he came to me and he's like, Joel, I want to fix this. And I've tried fixing this multiple times. And, I've gotten some results here and there, and then gone backwards. I said, this is easy. We're going to wipe this out. And so 2 months, I mean, I don't know how long it was. I worked with him for 3 months. I just talked to him yesterday. He lost 38 pounds. He's down to the lowest he's ever been. And the guy is crushing it. He's off all his medication. He has now, as a person he's indoctrinated in that system, he had a coach. He had a person he had to check in. The coach is like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, basically I'm doing the opposite of what you told me that I should be doing, because what you told me to do wasn't working, obviously. And so it's just funny though, again, to your point, and I think a lot of people's point, they've been hypnotized to believing like, oh, I couldn't get better from that, or I don't know, how do I get better from type 2 diabetes? And the fact of the matter is, it's a lifestyle disease, and it can be completely reversed. And so I just tell you that story to empower others. And I mean, I'm so happy for him really to be off all those meds, because they weren't serving him, and he's thriving now. And he has the blueprint of health. He knows what to do now. He doesn't need me anymore. I can always give him a tune-up, but he knows what to do.
Well, but first of all, congrats on that. And I guess that's really the pleasure of doing the work you do, because you can see real results.
100%.
And frankly, that's a highlight of, I'm sure your day is awesome when you hear that you were able to actually do that, right? And for folks listening and watching right now, just think about this. You can change. It will take couple of weeks to actually, it's going to be rough in the beginning, but you can change yourself. I mean, I personally I never had diabetes, but I was at a point where I could have developed that. I gained so much weight, and I lost it in terms of like how my workout stuff, and I just got committed to it, and I went back, dropped the weight, kept healthy, and that's the bottom line. I mean, I feel good. My blood pressure is always in good point. I have nowhere close to diabetes, although I have that genetically. I'm literally potentially exposed to that through my mom's.
Sure.
But the idea is that I cannot look at that. That's the risk, but I have every possible way to prevent it by doing stuff. Now, is there an odd, maybe I can miss that up? Of course, you get age comes in, there's different things. Not everybody is the same metabolism. Your lifestyle, what you eat, how you behave. That's also, I mean, I don't drink. I don't, eat anything that is not healthy. So stuff like that is help. I don't smoke. I never did. So there's practices that can help you. And certainly if you do all the other stuff, well, there is an expectation you're going to have problems, So cleansing is a good deal, but can it be reversed? Yes. Can it change? Yes. I mean, is there a point where there's a point of no return? I don't know. I can't say that. I'm not a clinician, but I don't believe in life there is a way that it's never too late. I think that's a concept that we have to live with. You can change any given moment, and you can turn everything. The tide can always turn, and as long as you're willing. But your work does that. I mean, the tricks. I mean, you actually have the knowledge that you can help people to write system. Now I want to ask you about what that system, just in a nutshell. I mean, I obviously want people to come to you and talk to you in person so you can guide them. You're not going to give them the whole, bit here,
of course,
but at least the idea of like, what does this system consists of? Because I know it's not just food. It's not just, it's a bunch of things that they have to do. As you mentioned the word lifestyle, and I mentioned too, what is that lifestyle that you actually, prepare them to actually be part of or execute on?
Yeah, I love that, brother. That's a great question. Here's the thing too, and I try to tell people, I only work out 10, 20 minutes a day, maybe. Like that's the most I work out. So we went back to time. You said, I don't have enough time. Well, that's BS, because since my oldest son is 9 years old, and for the last 9 years, I can promise you, I stopped going to the gym, and I wasn't able to because I had to maximize my time with my kids and my work. And so I stopped going to the gym. I stopped paying for a membership, but I've cultivated a movement practice that I do daily. And so I'm always moving and doing some things. And even right now I'm standing as we're talking. So I'm doing little things to just kind of change my day. And so, going back to the whole, I don't have time. Like if you don't have 10 minutes, then you don't have a life. And it's just that simple. Like, and again, I think the mindset for most people is 10 minutes won't do anything. Joel, why would I do that? Well, I'm living proof that the last, I can at least say the last 9 years, like I've only had 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes the most. So I just want to make that clear. But here's the deal. Everybody comes to me, right? Like you said, and they were like, Joel, I want help. And I asked them, okay, well, what do you think you need to do more of? And of course, the typical answer is exercise and eat less. And my argument is that can't be the case, because if that were the case, you would have already succeeded, because everybody knows that, and everybody you've already done that. And many of my clients have already tried that and it didn't work. So what else is missing? And I'm going to tell you, the most common thing I hear from everybody is these two things: consistency and commitment. Always. That's always lacking. And so one of the things that I do in the beginning is, for everybody, is I start with the mind. Because if your mindset is not strong, then you are going to start my program or any program on a rocky foundation. And I want you to start strong and finish strong. So we always work on mindset, vision, clarity, that kind of work. Because if you don't have that, then you're just not going to finish right. Now, of course, I do some of the exercise and the nutrition piece because that's important. I think one of the big things I'm also a big fan of is using a functional medicine detox. I've seen a lot of good results with folks doing that. And I want to be very clear, because a detox is very different than, say, a juice cleanse or something like that. A lot of people go, oh yeah, I've done that. And I'm like, no, you haven't. You haven't ever done anything like this. And they think, oh yeah, I've done cleanses. And by the way, those are great. I have nothing against a cleanse. I think there are some good benefits to doing a juice cleanse, right? There's a lot of micronutrients in there. You're not using your digestion, which takes about 30% of your energy. So there's some good things there, but it's not a detox. Let's not make any mistake about that. And so what I've learned over my time in the practices is we are bombarded by toxins and stress, right? All of us have, let's just say, a stress bucket. And imagine as you start to go, and you mentioned your fifth decade, right? Every year we are just piling more stuff in there. We've got stress from our marriage, stress from finances. We're not sleeping right. Our diet sucks. We're working weird hours, and we're just piling things into the stress bucket over and over again. And over time that starts to add up, and your body is very resilient. But after a while, that stress bucket starts to overspill and it spills out, right? It can't take it anymore. And really quickly, if you go and I mentioned toxins. If you go to the EPA's website, the Environmental Protection Agency's website, this is a government body that is supposed to be protecting you. It's supposed to be looking out for your best interest. Well, you can go to their website right now, on their website, on the homepage, and it will tell you that you are being bombarded by 86,000 man-made chemicals every year. That number is increasing because I think 2 years ago I looked at the number was 77,000. So it just continues to increase. So you're being bombarded by all these stressors and all these toxins. Well, guess who has to filter all those things out? The liver.
Yep.
The body. The liver has to filter all those things out. The gallbladder. And the liver is amazing, right? I think the liver purifies your blood, I think, every 6 minutes, but it has to deal with that. The liver is so important, guys, because the liver, another thing that we're seeing a lot is men are on TRT at an early age. Like, men are saying, I have no energy, I have brain fog, I need to be on TRT. Their testosterone is like 200 and they're in their 30s. That's terrible. The range for testosterone ranges anywhere from a normal testosterone is anywhere from 300 to 1200. It's a very wide range. So I understand how we could have like some discrepancy, but when you've got men in their 300 to 200 range, like, that's just terrible. And I have actually a story about it. Helping a client on that and watching his testosterone go up, like, I forget, it was like 1500%. It was ridiculous. But the point being is, guess what? Guess who also makes hormones? Your liver. It's a byproduct of the liver and your drainage system, believe it or not. So that's why I'm a big fan of using a functional medicine detox. I do that pretty regularly with all my clients, and I just see amazing results because we're relieving some of that stress burden. And then the one last thing I'll tell you just on toxins is when you get overweight, right? And again, you're typically eating a lot of processed food and all these things. Well, your body doesn't know what to do when it's burdened with all these toxins. But it knows one thing, Hurricane. It knows, I'm not going to let you die. So I'm not going to take these toxins and I'm not going to put in your brain and I'm not going to put in your heart because you'll be dead. But I can't deal, the liver can't deal with the overflow of toxins. So screw it. I'm just going to shove these toxins into fat cells. That's what it does. And so at some point when you start to lose weight, guess what? Those toxins start to get released. And so if we can support the liver throughout that process to help bind and conjugate to those metabolites, you're going to do a lot better as you start to lose weight, and you're just going to feel a lot better. And so that's why I'm a huge fan of that.
Well, thank you, Joel. I mean, first of all, I think you touch on detoxification, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it's funny. I talked about the no drinking, and that's one big element that can affect the liver, which is liquor or alcohol in general, right? And there's many others as you said, but you're right. Detoxification of the liver is I guess is priority, right? And I mean, a lot of things are priority, but you're right. And you talked about all the toxins that we are exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Everything we have these days has a chemical. And I mean, there was a study recently, there's a big boom. I don't know if you heard about that. The water that we drink, like the bottled water that is actually got all these nasty things.
Microplastics, yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, that's just what's being announced. I mean, God knows what else is in there, right? As I can tell you a true story. This happened to me about a couple of weeks ago. I had these filled like the Poland Spring waters delivered. And about a month ago, those bottles came in and the water tastes stale and nasty. So I called them and they say, maybe the machine, whatever. So we changed the machine. They give me stuff. Now they give it to me. It tastes like freaking pool water. I mean, it's got chlorine, galore.
Wow.
So, I mean, literally. So I called them and said, you know what? This is ridiculous. This is the first water we can drink. It was nasty. And the second one we can drink is just too much chlorine in it. I mean, I can literally do tablets myself and just purify my own water. If that's the case, I'm not buying spring water to get it purified. I actually literally drank from the source before. I actually, in the mountains, you can drink right from the stream and pretty pure water, right?
Yeah.
So it tastes fresh. There's no taste to water, but you can tell it's natural. This thing tastes like literally like chlorine in the pool, right? And I'm not mentioning the company, because then I did tell them that if they didn't do a good job about it, I will make a big stink about it.
Yeah.
But anyways, but so it's amazing that that's what we get, and like you lose the trust factor. I mean, you buy everything. I've talked to a lot of nutrition folks and real people that actually love the natural stuff, and they always say this: if it has more than one ingredient, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You cannot have more than what it is supposed to be, right? And you read all these things. I mean, in every single thing that we have, there's always some chemical in there, preservative, additive, whatever, and it's all there. And that's all getting in. Your body is not conditioned to eat that or to process that. So that means that's a problem. Or it's going to work triple time to actually, destroy it. And that means it's affected. It's not able to do the natural function.
100%.
It is crazy. And that's actually our problem. But is it fixable? It is. I mean, you said it. I mean, you can have these formulas to develop these things and to help the body operate in optimum, phases, in optimum shape. And it is happening. You're doing it. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that was a big piece of the discussion here, is that you do the exercise, the nutrition is important, but if your body is not working, is not cleansing, is not filtering all this stuff properly, you're gonna get that fat, and that's where to get into it. But then again, where is it going? It's not going anywhere. If it burns, it's gonna burn, and those things are still in you. They're not evaporating. They're still there, right? So now let me ask you this: someone comes to you. What is the time frame? I don't know, the results will vary. Not everybody's gonna have the same time frame, but in average, someone comes in based on their condition. That can take a certain amount of time. What's your good system timing? Meaning, like, is it an average of 3 months, to get going? Is it like 6 months? I mean, I know probably you can have a range, but what is that middle range that's accurate?
Great question. Yeah. So I typically work with people in a 3-month period, but honestly, most of the results happen within 8 weeks. Okay. So typically what will happen is we will do a lot of mindset work in the beginning, maybe the first 2 weeks, and then we will do a functional medicine detox. And I would say by week 5, I see most of my clients lose the majority of their weight right in that beginning. And we're talking 18 to 20, 25 pounds, just depending how much they have to lose. And that's done pretty quickly, actually, believe it or not. Not that I'm like promoting, and I want people to be very clear. I do this in a very holistic way. I'm not promoting you to, and I understand this. I don't hate on me. I totally understand, and I agree that we want to lose probably 1-2% body weight. That comes out to like a week. Okay, so you do want that gradual, but because of the detox can kind of speed things up, and I'm doing it in a holistic way, so it works actually very well. After the detox, though, things will be more gradual, and then you'll start to see that 1-2%. So if there's any other coaches listening, they're like, "What is this guy crazy?" Listen, relax, take it easy, okay? I promise. But yeah, so you will see. Honestly, within 8 weeks, I see most of my clients, again, depending how much they have to lose. Average person I see wants to lose about 25 pounds, and they're doing that within 8 weeks. If they, for some reason, don't hit the weight loss goal that we subscribe to, when I do an intake call with them and I meet with them and we talk for about an hour, if they don't hit that goal, I will keep working with them for free until they do. So I'm really passionate and dedicated to make sure they actually hit that goal, and we're going to get there. If their goal was 15 pounds and they didn't get there, then I will continue to work with them until they do. So that's my guarantee. But yeah, most of the time we see that in 8 weeks. I usually will work another month with them because I like that accountability and just fine tuning things.
So thank you, Joe, for that. So the couple of things. One, I'm going to go back to the mindset, because I think that is an awesome, piece of it, because everything is in the psyche. If we cannot get the mindset shifted to the right, direction, you're not going to get anything. I mean, it starts there, right? If I got to believe, I got to be committed, I have to be determined, and I have to be persistent and consistent, right? To actually get things done. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. I mean, many people start I had a few shows already in January about the New Year resolution concept, where people are like excited, going, "Oh, I'm going to do this." And then how long does it last before they actually give up? That's the thing. If your mindset is really a shift, then you're not going to give up. You're going to keep on. And as you feel good and better, you're going to just be like, "I want this. This is where I want to be." So thank you for that. And I think that's a great approach, and it's obviously working, and you already know how to manage that well. So the other thing is that you talked about weight loss, right? And some people may question this. Well, oh, great, I'm going to lose the weight, but now I am weak. I have no muscles because I just lost on my. So do you compensate somehow? Is there something that you do? Because people may be concerned about that.
Everybody's goals are different, right? So it just depends. Listen, I've got some clients where, let's say, I remember I had a woman, she was 300 pounds. So for me to ask her to go to the gym, it hurt her to walk. So for me to ask her to go to the gym for an hour a day, Like, that's just unreasonable. And by the way, she couldn't do it. Now, once she lost 25 pounds, started feeling better, she started walking all the time. She started feeling good. She was on her feet. And that started to create that momentum. So for everybody, their goals are different. Of course, I recommend strength training and stuff. But again, I work with a lot of busy professionals, just like yourself. Like, if you come to me and you're like, Joel, I literally have 10 minutes a day. Well, you're probably not going to get huge off of that, right? I'm a big believer in strength training, by the way. I would tell all my clients, don't even bother with cardio. So you might, in the beginning, especially if you have that much weight to lose, you're probably going to lose a lot of weight, but then you can start building muscle right afterwards. I'm a big proponent of that. But again, it just depends where you're at. And if you only have 10 minutes a day, then the expectations for us are going to be different. And we will work to cultivate and create that workout plan or that strength training plan so that in that 10 minutes, you're maximizing that. And again, I'm a big fan of that because weightlifting does two things. It stimulates two hormones: testosterone, which is going to give you that lean, muscular look, and growth hormone, which is going to burn body fat. So I'm a big fan of that. And I think, everyone should be doing it, especially as we age into the 5th decade or the 6th decade. One of the biggest things we see is things like osteoporosis and bone health starts to deteriorate. And so sarcopenia, the loss of muscle, is a big issue for men and women. And what you see as you get older, if you're I think after like 75 or so, one of the biggest things that kills elderly folks is they fall and they have like a hip replacement and they start to atrophy and then they can't get up. And that's what actually kills them. So we want to make sure, as you get older, those bones are strong and resilient so that doesn't happen.
Thank you so much. That's pretty cool stuff. Now I know you mentioned the functional holistic medicine, or right? That's the different the word you used, or the term
functional. I said a functional medicine detox. That's what I called it.
Oh, functional medicine detox. That's right.
Yeah.
So can you just elaborate on that? I mean, it sounds very technical, but what does that exactly mean? I mean, I got the detox part, but for our audiences, just to simplify.
Yeah. So to put it really simply is, I use a couple things. It's going to come with an eating plan, number one, because that's going to be important. And then we're going to change and compress your eating window. There's going to be a little bit of modified fasting in there, which is always going to increase autophagy, or where your cells actually eat each other and recycle. So you're going to have, that's part of the detox. And then the other part really is, I mentioned I'm supplementing the liver. I'm supporting the liver. I'm supporting those drainage and detox pathways. And the way I'm doing that is I use what would be similar to like a multivitamin, right? A lot of us take multivitamins, and that can be great because you're going to stimulate what they call phase 1 detox of the liver. And that's great. It can actually convert some of those fat soluble toxins and create and turn them into an intermediate metabolite. Okay. The problem is you need a sulfur binding binder to bind to those and create the phase 2 detox of the liver, which is to actually pull that toxin or that intermediate metabolite out. Most people are missing that. So I'm simply providing them with those supplements, and it's actually really easy and it's very gentle. It's not like people will ask me, oh, do I have to, am I... I had a client say, "Oh, like I do have to be near the toilet for this detox. Like I have to work, Joel." And I'm like, "No, it's not. This isn't like a cleanse like that. It's not a intestinal cleanse or a colon cleanse. There are those too, and maybe that's a different time I'd recommend that. But in this case, no, it's not that kind of cleanse. So again, I'm supporting the liver through supplementation, phase 1 and phase 2 detox, and when you can bring in that phase 2 detox, when you can support that which is usually what most people are missing, when you can, with sulfur-based amino acids such as glutathione, glycine, glutamine, all those things, when you can support the body with that, it can help remove those intermediate metabolites, and that's really important.
And I'm assuming all natural sources, right? None of the light stuff. So I mean, it's natural. So the supplementation is really using some natural supplements or like herbs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a functional medicine brand that I use, and it's third-party tested and all that stuff. Believe it or not, it's not like, and when you say all natural, I would say technically the vitamins are synthetic in the sense that, we're using certain dosages and ratios. They have certain vitamins, right, that come from nature, or they come from like their whole food-based vitamins. So it isn't that, believe it or not. But there's some method to the madness of why we're using quote
No, no,
unquote
that's
synthetic, right? I would say vitamins. Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. No, that was a good question though.
So Joe, I know we're just at the top of the hour here, and so my question to you now is really the ultimate question. How can people reach out to you and get to work with you? And do you do this like worldwide access on through via Zoom and type of, this kind of, remote discussions, or they have to physically see you somewhere, or both?
Yeah, great question. So I'm actually based in Idaho right now, but all my coaching is done virtually, which is great. So I can reach as many people. I had a client who saw me on a podcast in Dubai. Like, I mean, how cool is that, man, that I get to connect with people from all around the world. So it's all virtual right now, and it works, and that's great. The best way, there's a couple ways to connect with me. One is the website, joelevancoaching.com. You can go there, shoot me an email. I'm very active on Instagram at joelevancoaching. You can shoot me a DM as long as I don't get banned or thrown off the platform. That's where I'm going to be at. And then the third way you could do it is my podcast, the Hacked Life podcast. I've got we were talking early on is like, hey, sometimes you don't have the money to invest. Well, go listen to that show. I put out 2 expert interviews every week talking about health and natural health and alternative practices. Sometimes it's mindset. A guy I just put on today talks about manifestation. I mean, and so that talks about the mindset piece that we're talking about. So that is a free learning source. And then the last thing I'll say is I have a book that should be coming out either the end of February or 1st of March, and it's going to be holistic weight loss for busy professionals that don't want to count macros and they don't want to go to the gym 6 times a week. So, hey, if you want to buy a $10 book or just listen to the podcast, that's another way where you can just get a lot of information for free, or for $10 for the book. I don't know how much it's going to be. But yeah, otherwise connect with me there, and I'm happy. And you can learn more about my coaching services and what I do.
And I will have the actual link to your site on the description of the show. So it will be all over the place, so they can actually click there. And if they go to our site, they'll see your picture, click on it, they'll go to your website. So, hey, there's plenty of ways to reach, Joel. So, Joel, it's been real. I mean, I'd love to spend more time here. I know you had a few shows already, and it's the end of the day, but it's been real. It's been great. A pleasure. Any last advice to our audiences before we end the show today?
You know what? I didn't have anything, but because you asked, I will just say this. Yeah, you know what? I'll just say this, man, because here's a big thing that's really affected my life over the last 2 years, and a lot of things that I've had to evolve and go through. And I would just tell your audience this is take messy action. Take aggressively, take imperfect action. Things are not always going to be perfect, but go after it. Experiment, test, retest. Believe it or not, success loves speed. It loves that you test something, it didn't work. Test it again, test something, reiterate, and just keep going. Most of us go through a very slow success ladder, and it takes a long time to get there. It doesn't have to be. Success loves speed. So remember that, and go after it.
That's powerful, and actually, I'm going to use that on my highlights. So that's going to be on Instagram. So I'll share that with you. Well,
let's go. All
right, folks. This has been so much fun and a lot of information here. I had a great time, Joel. Thank you so much, man. This is awesome.
Thank you, brother.
And folks, we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. Stay tuned. Bye for now.